day, Day 3 of the death penalty. And those of you that were gone for volleyball yesterday, did you get to watch your notes last night? Pretty graphic. I know you got back late, but make sure that you check those out on the lesson plan page. So we are down to stoning, which is still used in the world today. I can get this to work. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start here just to pull the people in that were gone yesterday. This is actually a reenactment in Brussels where they were showing this is what is happening to especially women in a lot of Middle Eastern countries. And there are funny rules about this. The prisoner is buried up to their neck, so they can't fight back, obviously, or they're restrained. Death is actually caused by damage to the brain or asphyxiation, suffocation, right? Or a combination, depending on where the rocks hit the face. And we're learning about, I should explain, we're learning about the methods of the death penalty in the world. And before they write their lovely little letter to the editor about how they feel about the death penalty, I said, we need to know the facts. What really happens in those instances. So that's what's going on. Okay, so that is what actually causes it. It depends on where the rocks hit the head. Now, the crazy part about this is they have rules about how things work. First of all, because a person may sustain severe blows without actually losing consciousness, it can be very slow. And that would not be cruel and unusual, right? We worry about that in the US. That's not an issue there. In Iran, one of 6 countries which use this, and they actually prescribe it by law, it stipulates that you cannot kill that person with one single blow, Shay. Just stay with us for now, okay? So I can't just take a rock and go up and go bam and kill her with one rock. It's not allowed because they want the death process to be slower. And if you look at the law, look at what it says. In the punishment of stoning to death, the stones should not be too large that the person dies on being hit by just 1 or 2 of them. And they shouldn't be so small that it's not actually called a stone. I don't know, what is it, a pebble? It's weird, what defines a stone? But they want it to take a while, which is a little different than what we believe in. Now, this is one eyewitness's report on what happened. This eyewitness said the lorry deposited a large number of stones and pebbles beside the waste ground. And then 2 women were led to the spot wearing white and with sacks over their heads. They were enveloped in a shower of stones and transformed into 2 red, bloody sacks. The wounded women fell to the ground, and then after all of that, the guards finally then went and smashed their heads in with a shovel. That's what the last word says down there. So it's kind of a gruesome situation. We were just getting yesterday to an example of this. This is a movie that's won some huge awards. It's called The Stoning of Soraya M. And a lady has come forward and tried to talk to a reporter in this country and is telling them, this is what's going on. Something needs to be done because a lot of these are women and it's happening because of ridiculous reasons. Because the guys can say, oh, she looked at another guy, she cheated on me, and she's stoned to death. I mean, it's literally that crazy. So this is a true story. We'll show you just a little bit about it. It stars, what's her name? You'll recognize her probably. She's been in a lot of movies. And they interview her about this, and you'll see a little clip from the movie. So let's check it out. Anybody at home? Sorry, I can't show you this because it gets all garbled. Okay, so what country was this taking place? In Iran. And you know, I don't know if any of you have been watching Channel 1 at all in your team time. Right now they're doing a whole special on Iran because, you know, our president is trying to make relations with Iran better. We're trying to do an agreement on trade, trying to negotiate nukes, you know, and yet they're doing this to women in Iran. And you notice how they found out about the story? They snuck it out because in Iran, it was interesting, on Channel 1, they have those reporters, you know, from Channel 1, and they're over there. And so he goes onto the computer and tries to go into Google, and it says, I am sorry, this site is banned. Here is a site you can go to, and it's completely controlled by the government, where they allow what's on the computer and what's not. They are only allowed to watch certain things on television. They're only allowed to listen to certain music. In fact, it was really sad. They showed, you know that song, You Know I'm Happy, you know that song, right? Well, there was a group of teenagers like your age that actually went on YouTube. They snuck a video on YouTube of them dancing to this song, and they were all like lashed. because of it. Like, it was a huge deal. So the fact that these people just don't have any rights, especially women, is really sad. So they snuck this story out, and that's why this movie is so amazing. So sad, but it's still going on in the world, isn't it? Okay, hush. All right, how do I get out of here? There we go. And back to our screen, which is right there. There we go. Okay, so let's go on to our next slide. All right, now this next one here, we're going to need some colored pencils for this because I know yours isn't in color and mine is. And there will be some questions on your test over this, so I want us to help out with this. So first of all, if you look at this, let's look at the graph. First of all, these are the number of executions. Down here it gives us the years, right? From 1600 all the way to the year 2000. Okay, so let's answer our questions first. You even know what to color. Hold on. Okay, so first of all, what are the top 3 methods used in our history? Good, so hanging is purple, right? Black is electrocution, and green is lethal injection. So they're the highest, so those are the 3. So go ahead and color those 3 things. Use your little key. Make sure you put the color on your key. And then color those lines so we know what those are, okay? And list those in your answer. Do you need some pencils down here, girl? This is for your whole table, sorry. There you go. Yeah, make sure you share pencils with your whole table. It's a color. How fun. And if you have your own set of little markers or whatever, you're welcome to use whatever you want. So our 3 methods used in history, the most common were hanging, electrocution, and lethal injection, right? So make sure you write down those answers. So our next question says, what methods are used today? So if we go down here, what's green? Lethal injection would be the first answer. What's black? Electrocution. So that's number 2. And there's one more down there, and it's orange. Gas chamber, yeah. Those are the most common ones used today. And remember that we use firing squad quite a bit in military. So I think that's why that's actually making some bump there. We have a few others maybe, but they're not making a real wave down there. So they're not even visible. So you do those 3 now. So we've got electrocution. Make sure you answer it right. We've got electrocution, we've got lethal injection, and now we've got the gas chamber, which is this little orange thing. Gas chamber, yeah. Did I say firing squad? No. Okay, I thought I said the wrong thing. So yes, gas chamber is the 3rd thing right there. However, if you look all the way along the board, what method has continued throughout our history? Firing squad. You look at red, it's always there. There's a little spike in 1675, 1775. Why? What happened in like 1775?
Our country became a
1776, yep. A country, so it was the American Revolution. We had some in 1825, 1860, the Civil War. We had some bumps like late 1800s. Yeah, but it's always there because we have that little military influence all the way across. Kind of interesting. Well, I suppose stoning, being knocked off a cliff, beheadings, that kind of stuff. Sure. now that we've defined it out. I love this graph though because it really says a lot about us. Like for example, if you look at electrocution, where did we first start using electric chair? Yeah, 1880 or 1890, somewhere around there. And then it dropped off, and then it picked up again, like in 1980. If you look at hanging, wow, hanging was huge for a lot of years, and now, boom, it drops off like about 60, 65. So it was the most common in a lot of ways when it went away. Mm-hmm. Right, yes, good point, Wilson, thank you. This is empty, other than the military. The military still did firing squad, but that's where we have no death penalty in the U.S. because we outlawed it because it was being what? Yeah, it's been freakishly and inhumanely used. They said it was not consistent. So they outlawed it, reviewed it, and then brought it back. Good. Got all those? Okay, now I want to take a look at some of these stats. I thought they were really interesting. These are California death penalty facts. And because California is one of our big three, I think it's kind of interesting to look at their numbers. It says California's death penalty was reinstated in 1978 after a series of legal challenges. Since then, 87 death row inmates have died, most of them from suicide or natural causes. 14 have been executed, including one put to death in Missouri in this case. So if you look at this, it breaks down the 87 death row inmates who have died since 1978. And you'll notice 50 of them died before they ever got to the electric chair or whatever the method was. So they just got old because the appeals took so long. 17 died of suicide before they ever got to the end there. 5 were other, I'm not sure what other would be. 1 is pending, and then 13 were executed, and then 1 in Missouri. Okay. Now, if you look at the current death row race and ethnicity, notice what's our biggest group? Second is, it's not by much, is it? And remember we talked about if you look at what percentage of all of Americans are black, it's a much smaller percentage. So if you looked at that racial-wise, that means that that's a very large number of African Americans being executed, isn't it? Then we have Latino and then other. If you look at the age group, what is the most common age group for the death penalty? 40 to 49. Why do you think that is? Yeah. So they may commit the crime when they're 20 or even 25, whatever. But by the time they get done with appeals, you know, they're older, right? And you'll notice it even goes into the 50s and the 60s, 2% in the 70s and 80s. So appeals can make a difference there. Now, I wanted you to answer this on your own. What surprises you about these facts? Write down one thing that surprises you. Okay, and your second question, why might victims' families be upset with these statistics? What do you think might make them upset? Appeals are taking way too long. You bet. Any other thoughts?
If they're on death row, they still have a chance to die, even if they're innocent, because so many other people die in different ways.
Interesting. Say that again.
Well, even if they're innocent, there's a higher chance of dying on death row that, like, besides execution.
Interesting. So like a Clarence case, like we studied in the video, where he was innocent, there's a great chance that he's going to die, even if it's not from the death penalty, because of the other issues. Interesting. Another?
How, like, if someone's sent to the death penalty and then, like, that person, like, just, like, dies of natural causes instead of actually getting, like, executed, I feel like they would kind of be, like, upset about that or commit suicide.
Yeah, like maybe they took the easy way out, or they didn't get justice. You know, like we said, it's never going to bring that person back that they've killed. But, you know, some say they feel relief that it's over and that they got justice. So I think that kind of gets robbed from them. Good. Good thoughts, you guys. Good. All right. So I want us to take a look at how we compare to the world. Kind of interesting. So first of all, the United States is the world's leading jailer. If you look at us compared to other countries, we have, oh gosh, this is by per 100,000, by the way. And this was in 2008. How many did we have? 750,000. Good job, Kelly. Our next group would be from where? Russia, and they have about 625,000. Good. And then we go to South Africa. Europe is really small. Canada, Australia, Japan, etc. Now, this is kind of interesting. Let's see if I have that word up here. So I want you to take a look at incarcerated Americans here and see, if you look, this is from 1920 to 2006, and it shows, oh, we're missing part of this. Let me make it smaller so you can see the bottom there. But you can't see the bottom of the graph. Okay, so this shows the years down below. Starts at 1920, goes all the way to 2006, and it shows how many people are put in jail, basically. Okay? So, first of all, how do we compare to the world? Write your answer, obviously. China's not on here. I think part of the reason is we never get good stats from China. They never tell us exactly what's going on there. So your next question then, based on this graph, has criminal activity increased, decreased, or stayed the same throughout this time period in history? What do you think? Increased, according to this. Now, it either has been that, yes, or else our police are just really good at their job, right? And they're arresting more people than they used to. You know, it's one of the two. And that could be. I mean, we do have better CSI stuff and whatever, but yeah, we do see that it has increased somewhat. Now, this is a key word for you here, recidivism. Kind of important to understand when you look at the death penalty. All right. So recidivism is, by definition, when a criminal relapses into criminal behavior after serving their sentence. So I go into prison because I drove drunk. And I serve my sentence, I get out, and I do it again. That's recidivism. Okay? Now we're going to look, obviously, at some other crimes. Yeah?
Okay, for that, like, jail thing,
Yeah.
do you think that, like, they count, like, every person that goes into jail? Or do you think it's, like, just, like, so many, like, months or something? Do you think if, like, they have to have a trial for it?
I would say that anybody that is serving time for a crime.
Like, even if it's, like, a few days?
Yep. If they actually were found guilty and they served time, that would be used in that stat, I would guess. Yeah. Yeah, good point. So we probably wouldn't count someone that's sitting in the county jail waiting for trial, right? Until we know they're guilty. Okay. Yeah. So look at this. Of 272,000 prisoners released from the U.S. prisons, what percentage were rearrested within 3 years? This kind of scared me a little bit. Okay. So stealing cars, notice what percent were rearrested for the same thing. 79% did the exact same thing again. How about possessing or selling stolen property? 77%. Larceny, burglary, 74%. Robbery, 70%. Illegal weapons, 70%. Illegal drugs, 67%. Fraud, 66%. Arson, starting a fire, 58%. Drunk driving, 52%, which is actually lower than I expected. Actually, rape, 46%. Murder, 41%. Now, first of all, let's answer our questions. So, based on this, number one, does prison teach our criminals to stop breaking the law? No, because we can tell they are doing the same thing when they get out. We don't have a very good reteaching rate. Now, how accepted they are, like you have to be accepting of changing in order to do that, though. And that's part of the deal, too. Larceny, theft. Oh, is that a vocab word? Yeah, good.
What's the difference between burglary and robbery?
Interesting. Let's see. Anybody know? Oh, that's a good question. Okay, burglary is breaking. Okay, say that again.
Burglary is trespassing. Robbery is trespassing and taking possession.
Okay, didn't know that. Well, maybe they get caught, I don't know, or they found, like they didn't, like if they went to my house, they probably wouldn't find anything worth stealing, I mean, you know how it is, you just don't own a lot of, it's not like I have valuable jewels somewhere or something, so, I don't know. Which is really funny, I'll tell you a little story here. When we lived in Dallas, Texas, we lived in Carrollton, which was kind of on the outside of town, and was really interesting. The crime was not happening in downtown Dallas for the most part. Yes, there was some gang stuff and whatnot, but like burglary, that kind of stuff was not happening downtown. Why? Well, true, their apartments, and true, and think about what kind of people live there. They don't have anything to steal. So what were they doing? They were coming to Carrollton. They were coming to our area, and they were breaking in and stealing stuff because people had more money in those suburbs. So I would guess if you looked at the crime in Sioux Falls, they probably tend to go to the richer areas when they break in because you got more stuff to steal. Yeah. It depends. If you didn't hear, she asked, what is the amount of allotted time in prison for DWI?
Because so my cousin, he's not like my first cousin, but he's had like 5 DUIs.
And has he served any?
And then he said like, I don't know, like I think he's gone to jail once, but he still keeps doing it, and he's like he got like his 5th DUI last summer.
Wow. So he has served time once. He had 5 DWIs for those of you who know. Okay? Because I didn't know if they could hear you. And he served time once, but he's still doing it. Yeah. Does anybody know what the rule is now? I know they're getting tougher on it.
I thought you have to like serve 30 days.
Okay.
Because can't you just, because he was in, I know he was in jail once, but can you like get bailed out for that?
I think it depends on because you can get bailed out until your trial possibly, but then at the trial, that's when you get your sentence. So that could happen. Yeah.
I know, well, like some people might have to go in like every day and get tested and stuff like that. So like it might be so many, or like some people have like the thing on their ankle.
Right. Or they have a breathalyzer in their car that won't allow you to drive without it. Okay. Who has a law enforcement person in their family? All right. Your job for tomorrow is to come back and report on what is the law for DWI. How long do you serve? How many do you get? Blah, blah, blah. And let us know, okay? All right. I want to hear about it. They don't for murder. She was talking about like DWI. Oh, well, sometimes it happens. No, they don't get bailed out, but they may have served their time. Yeah, you can. Not always.
Get
25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you end it at like 25, and then you get back out.
Right. So yeah, murder does not always mean death penalty or life imprisonment. So they can get out again. Yeah. Okay, so let's come on back here, and Shay's going to look up our answer for that. Good. Okay, so we said that we don't see a lot of good retraining going on in prison. What might encourage prisoners to recidivate? It's a fun word.
Attention.
Raise your hand so I can hear your ideas. Okay, so they go back to the same friends, same environment. That's what they know. That's what their people do. Good. What else?
Attention.
They like the attention. They like making the headlines. Okay.
Maybe they know that like they can get out for that. Like they'll only serve so many like years or whatever. They know that they can get out for that, and so they're like, what's the chance of getting by?
It's in the box. Yes. So they're like, oh, I got by with it last time. I can go do it again. Good. What else?
My mom and that's like a parole officer, and there was this one guy that would just do like bad crimes on purpose, just because he didn't have a home, and then he didn't have food, so he would just do bad stuff so he could go back into jail because he had somewhere like to sleep and no food to eat.
Sounds sad. I was thinking of that when Cassidy said that. There are some criminals, they're like, hey, I get 3 meals a day and I get a roof over my head. And they actually go back to it on purpose because they don't know how to live outside. Good. What else?
Well, mine's kind of similar to hers, but like, maybe it's like we're not strict enough on some of them. Like, if you see like rape and murder at the bottom, or like the least amount of people go back to it because they're more serious. So maybe it's the ones we're stricter on. It's like they're the ones who don't go back to doing it.
Okay.
We're stricter on those ones than do itself.
So maybe if we were more strict with the crimes that happen, like a DWI, for example, they wouldn't have as much recidivism. Good. Wilson, you got another one for us?
They could be full of anger and revenge. Like, if you stole a car and then someone snitches on them, then they get out of jail and they're like, well, I'm gonna kill you.
Okay. Okay. Good. Any others? There's a couple you're missing. Anything else?
Honestly, if I was homeless, I'd probably do some stupid thing.
Maybe.
Like this public nudity.
Yeah. Okay. Only from Zach. Only from Zach. Oh, man. Well, I will say that some people just don't know how to function outside jail. They, imagine if you've been there for 25 years. They don't know how to live in a normal environment. Plus, here's the big thing. Try getting a job after you have gone through a trial and you've been in prison. How many people really want to hire someone that's been in prison?
Especially like people who like rape and murder people. Like,
Oh, yeah.
how are you ever gonna get a job?
It's near impossible, right? Yeah. So they don't have any way to live. I'll give you an example, you guys. My husband owns a moving company, and he hires manual laborers. They're awesome guys, but they move boxes and they move pianos and they move heavy stuff. But they are not your typical college graduate kind of guys, right? But if you have one thing on your record as far as a DWI, he won't hire you because you have to drive his trucks. If you have one theft on your list, no way. Because those rich people in Brandon, do they want someone that has been a thief moving their stuff? Even he will not hire someone like that because he can't, not for his job. There are places that will with some cases, but it is really tough to get back out there afterwards.
Or construction
So-
workers kind of like criminal people.
Some
I've heard of
some construction companies will do some of that because they're trying to help them get a new start, but it depends on the company.
Like,
It
what about
does.
the oil people up in North Dakota? Because I hear a lot
Yes.
of weird stories.
Yeah, in fact, I had a relative up there, and actually it was her husband now. They were engaged at the time. He would not allow her to leave his apartment during the day. She couldn't go anywhere because, like, it was kind of like the Old West up there. I mean, the people that are out there, they're mostly male. They're young, in trouble, looking for women, getting in trouble. You know what I mean? So a lot of dangerous things can happen.
I heard a weird story like a person drove to like Montana and like there's a school teacher going on a walk for like at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever,
Mhm.
and he raped her and killed her
Oh, up there?
in Montana.
Oh, wow. Scary stuff. Yeah. Did you want to say something? I thought I saw it in their hand.
My brother-in-law works at Duke Aerial and used to work at Midwest Railcar,
Sure.
and most of those people had served time in.
So they have a program to try to help those guys out. Okay.
Yeah, my dad's a construction worker and he hires people who have been in jail and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, and right now, the unemployment is like very, very low. So they are begging. People like that are begging for workers. Like my husband, he is begging for workers. So they're taking whatever they can. And sometimes they're more open to that than not.
My brother graduated for engineering from North Dakota, and he was offered a job for like a lot of money
Yeah.
up there, and he decided to go all the way to Seattle so he wouldn't have to go there.
Really? Yeah, because it is quite a place. Yeah. You can make a lot of money really fast, but it is not a fun thing.
Yeah. A new life, and he didn't want to go there.
Not with a new wife. Yeah. Couldn't take it. It is. It's like the Wild West. Really, it's so funny. We're studying the cowboys in American history, and it's so like it. Now let's look at our third question. Why are violent crimes lower than violent crimes in recidivism? So one of them is what JP said. Maybe it's because we are tougher on them. Their punishments are tougher. But I think there's more to that statistic. What else can you explain to me? Okay, think about it a minute. So why are those numbers lower than stealing cars, for example?
Because when the time, like a lot of them, like, don't get out and stuff for, like, the harsher crimes, like, right now, like, a lot of people don't get out, so they don't have a chance to, like, go redo it again.
Good. So we have a smaller population because more people that murder and rape are in prison for life or longer. So we don't have as many population. That's another answer. Good. That's the second answer. I think there's one more. I think that was what I was thinking of. I think it was those two. Is there anything else you thought of? I think that was what I was thinking of. Good. Yeah. Right, right. It is a concern, no doubt. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of your temperature right now. We've looked at a lot of the death penalty stuff. We're not quite to the end yet, obviously, but I want to see where your brain is right now. So I want you to take a moment silently to answer these questions. How do you feel about the death penalty right now? Which methods are okay and not okay to you? Could you be the one to pull the switch or inject that prisoner? And if your answer is no, is it okay to ask somebody else to do what you couldn't do? Go ahead and answer those questions.